This week on First Issue Club, we cover SFSX and Harleen. Welcome back to another episode of First Issue Club, the weekly comic book podcast that covers #1 issues as we help aid you through the muddy and murky waters of the comic book landscape. I am Greg Lichtai, one of your fabulous hosts. With me is Michael DeStacy and Budget King.
Hello.
Woot. It has been a long week, and I am so happy to be here to talk comic books with you guys. Before we get into the books this week.
Headline number 1. Money Shot comic getting promotional boost from Comic Hub. Do you guys know what that means? Do you know anything about Money Shot, the comic?
Money Shots from Scout, right? Scout Comics?
Nah, I don't think so.
Or Vault, or...
Yeah, I think it's Vault. It's Vault.
It's like a sexy comic in space.
Yeah. So it's like in the future, porn funds space travel.
Oh,
I could be into that.
yeah.
Yeah. Sounds pretty good.
Uh-huh. What's Comic Hub?
Comic Hub is the company that kind of orchestrated the once and future thing that Boom did. So their whole like business model wherein they sold out of the comic book multiple times before it even went to the stores. So that was through this partnership with Comic Hub where stores had to spend this like blanket number of dollars to get the book, and there was like a cap. And so you go through all of these like print runs and it looks like it sells like fucking great and it creates a secondary market for your comic book.
That's
so bad for comic fans.
Seems like cheating.
I think so. I mean, I might not be understanding the business model that well, but that's how I read it.
That seems lame. That's like what yuppies do.
That's bullshit.
That's like you're creating the secondary market, therefore taking it away from us, the consumer.
Well,
to
and me as a weird comic book guy, I'm like, oh, I should order this ahead of time.
Yeah, same.
Because I want it.
Well, I mean, that's what they hope you're doing, I guess.
Yep. And it's a Tim Seeley book.
Oh, cool.
He is a bonkers person who writes some bonkers comic books.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a great comic book, but when you're creating the hype yourself, like, ugh. All right.
Well, I don't know. It's a good way to inflate the market. It's probably good for the creator, I guess.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, depending on how much they get from it.
Yeah, the publisher. I'm not upset if Boom is making a lot of money. They sold 40,000 of both of those books, which I don't know if that's a lot by their standards, but it seems like it
probably
is.
For indie, sure.
Yeah.
At a minimum, you get weird spec people to buy the second issue because they think it's a rare thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though that's kind of fake.
I can't wait to find this book for $1 a year from now.
Hopefully that'll be the case. Headline number 2. ABC's new series Stumptown is based off these must-read comic books.
Like the comic book called Stumptown?
Yeah, the comic book Stumptown?
Yeah. Do you guys own any Stumptown?
Yeah.
I
You do?
own 0.
I have the first one.
You have the first issue of Stumptown. All right, Spec King.
That's what your new name should be.
Spec King.
Have you checked the price on it?
No. It's like $20.
You think it's just $20?
Probably.
Yeah.
That's like an ABC show. That's like a huge network show now.
I feel like movies is where it's at.
People don't care about the TV shows.
I mean, no, I don't think so.
Are you excited for the show?
Yeah, it's actually
it
getting some pretty
looks,
good
it
reviews.
looks kind of cool.
It looks good. And
Yeah.
I like Kobe Smulders.
It's kind of like a Jessica Jones, but she's not like impervious to pain, but she has that same kind of
Did you guys read?
approach.
Did you guys read it at all?
No, I never read it. Greg Rucka wrote it. I like him.
Bring the motherfucking rucka.
$45 on a high.
I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll take it back. That's pretty good. $45 for some bullshit comic? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
Okay.
If
Yeah.
you can sell it for
It
45.
was on Image, right?
It really was a bullshit comic.
So they made a bunch of them. What do you mean it was bullshit? You didn't like it?
It was on Oni actually,
It was on Oni?
which is why I have it. I think.
Oh.
No, it wasn't it just didn't have much fanfare behind it.
Right.
Like
Like the fact that it got a TV show is kind of like
weird,
shocking.
totally weird. Yeah. There's nothing like, I don't know. It didn't stand out really. People weren't talking about that book.
No.
So
Yeah. When I first heard it, I was like, oh yeah, that's a comic book.
this could be another situation like The Kitchen, which If you have that book, you should have sold it a year ago, I guess.
Oh, that movie bombed.
I think it did worse than like Delgo.
Huh?
Delgo's like this. You know about Delgo, right?
I don't know. I was just laughing.
Oh, thank you for laughing, actually. It's like a famously bombed animated movie that they spent like years making. It did so bad, they pulled it out of the box office in like a week. And then Conan like did all this shit on it to like shit on it. And so it kind of has like a little bit of a cult following.
What's it called?
Delgo? It's like an animated like dinosaur kangaroo looking guy. And I think there's some like famous people associated with the movie.
That's not like...
Hidalgo?
What's the one with like Johnny Depp? Rangoon?
Rango.
Rango.
Yeah, no, we're talking about Delgo. I know who you're talking about.
Hidalgo.
Also, awful movie, terrible movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go. I don't know. Yeah. Jennifer Love Hewitt was in it, Val Kilmer, Kelly Ripa, Freddie Prinze Jr., Michael Clark Duncan, and Burt Reynolds all did voices.
Already underwhelmed.
For this fucking movie that you guys have never heard of.
Yuck.
Well,
I got one.
Yeah.
It just came out today that Hulu canceled their Ghost Rider TV show.
I saw that.
No.
Which raises the speculation that it will be a movie. An MCU movie.
Oh.
Or a Disney Plus show.
What's the thing with like Spirit of Vengeance though? Like, does somebody own that title?
I don't know. I know what you're talking about because like Hailstrom is going to be on Hulu still. Like they're doing like their weird dark stuff on Hulu. So Spirit of Vengeance is kind of like the team up of, well, Ghost Rider and Blade and Hailstrom. And,
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that was.
There's another one like not Dark Side, but like Dark something.
Okay.
And they like team up and do like cool, dark, smoking cigarettes in the alleyway stuff.
So it got dropped before it even was a thing.
Yeah.
Behind the panel, are Star Wars comics still a force to be reckoned with?
How'd Ray do?
I don't know how Ray did, to be honest. Didn't read it.
I know they're ending pretty soon. They're ending their Star
No
Wars.
shit,
comic.
really?
Yeah, but I think after the new movie, they're going to re-kick it up again.
There's so many of them going on right now.
There's too many. We're being inundated.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Everyone's getting their own comic.
And are they even canon?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they are because Marvel wanted to do when Marvel obtained the Star Wars stuff, they stopped all comic books, all regular books, and said, "Okay, we need to get on the same page, everybody."
It's only comic books now.
And they do books.
Oh yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, do they contradict the books? Like what?
No, they're all canon. They're all like in sync.
Okay.
They have like specific writers and everything.
Yeah, connected universe.
Yeah, because back before Disney bought them, like anyone could write a Star Wars story.
Yeah.
It was fucking weird. And some things didn't make sense and some stories merged together and some didn't and people were just fucking okay with it. It was anarchy.
Big thumbs down from me on if Star Wars comics still matter. I say no.
They don't matter to me.
People say they're good, but they're too
The
many
ones
of
I've
them.
read are good, yeah, but you can't keep up with them.
No.
It's like if you're a fan of the DCU or MCU, you're already losing your goddamn mind with how many comics you got to buy.
It's too much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, like you basically had to like pick a fandom and just stick with it.
right. And if your fandom is Star Wars, great, but you're probably still, even you, as a massive Star Wars fan, are probably not picking up every single comic.
No.
I think like 5 came out today. 5 Star Wars comics came out today.
Is the main line still going?
It's ending soon. I think it ends in December.
Yeah, and there's like, here's a book about an accountant for the Republic.
Yeah.
Rumored that Donny Cates is going to take on Thor.
You know what? Makes sense with the Null stuff going on, maybe. Right?
Yeah, and Donnie and Jason have been working pretty closely on a lot of projects. So
Going to be a good handoff spot.
if it was anybody else, I'd be a little more skeptical, but Donny Cates has kind of proven himself with Absolute Carnage, Thanos, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Guardians of the Galaxy, like
Silver Surfer,
Silver
Black.
Surfer Black.
Oh,
So
Oh, yeah.
so good.
I'm confident. He has some big shoes to fill.
Yep.
Jason Aaron did a fucking number on Thor over the years, so We shall see. If it's true, I wish him good luck.
Let's
Get this podcast
Started.
Now we have Harleen by Stefan Shujic out on Black Label from DC. Harleen is about Harley Quinn. It is about how she became the right-hand woman of the Joker and kind of their history together and how they fell in love. Is that how we are looking at this thing?
and it's a retelling, right? Like
Well, I think with the Black Label, they're kind of their own universe now, so
Yeah.
they can kind of get away with other stuff. It's like a Elseworld thing.
so Harley Quinn is a lot of criticism because she puts up with an abusive relationship, and in some ways that's glorified.
Yes,
She came to fame through the animated series.
yes. That's where she was introduced.
Okay, yeah, and always was just like I
Very
think-
submissive.
yeah, and became popularized a lot of because of how she like looks, and she's kind of owned her own confidence in like the comic books to the point that she's probably one of the most beloved DC characters currently in DC.
Yeah. Well, in the animated series, she had that like weird cutesy voice and was always like, "Oh, pudding," and like was just fawning over the Joker. And like you said, to a lot of criticism, the Joker abused her physically, emotionally. We can imagine sexually. Like he was manipulative and very destructive to this character. And about 5 years ago, people were like, enough of it. We are tired of this as a bad look for young girls to like aspire to this kind of relationship. And it's just like a bad thing to portray in a mainstream comic. And so they flipped it. They flipped the script on who Harley Quinn was. She broke up with the Joker and became this kind of icon for strong, independent women who can, bounce back from abuse and own who they are and be, great in the world that we live in.
Started a relationship with Poison Ivy.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I totally didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Yep. Big part of her story.
Mm-hmm.
This book, though, follows a strong trend of showing villains as victims. We talked about this a little at the top with how Incel Joker, as imagined by Joaquin Phoenix, is like being presented as this like victim of society, and we're supposed to feel for him. This was in essence the same sort of thing.
Just clarification.
For Harley.
We actually talked about that in Tales from the Shop, which is a series you can get on our Patreon.
That's exactly right.
So you may not.
Horror stories from our local comic book shop.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you're interested in that, plug for our Patreon.
Yeah. Today's
yeah.
episode was a real mixed bag.
It was. Yeah. But you're right. Yeah, this is it. I think a little bit of a victim, but I'm getting a sense from you guys that you didn't like this. This was a long ass comic book. It took me almost 40 minutes to read.
Yes, it's one of their bigger format books, so it's like thicker in a lot of senses of like a lot of more pages, and it's like a weird magazine format.
Yeah.
How were you guys reading this? Like, show me physically how you were holding this book.
I had it in one hand, the spine in the middle of my left hand, and I flipped it like that.
Okay.
I kept it flat as could be.
I didn't keep it flat.
As not the book, but my hand to like make
okay.
sure I didn't crease the spine.
Yeah, that's one thing you got to worry about with these Black Label mega books is that the spine is easy to just destroy.
Yeah.
Your comic book shop could give you the book a little beat up anyway, so and then in that
We know
sense-
nothing about that.
In that sense, you wouldn't really care, I guess,
right.
if that happened to you. This comic book spends so much time developing Harley Quinn as a therapist. We go to like, her grad school program, the research that she's kicking off, all this kind of stuff. She doesn't seem like, troubled, misfortune person. She kind of just seems like 30-year-old figuring life out, happens to be a therapist. I found that refreshing. Like, we don't get this like terrorizing backstory. We get fairly probably, it seemed true, believable way you might become a therapist who just kind of is falling in love with their research and then is going to meet the Joker.
Yeah. She had a little bit of an incident. She like had a relationship with one of her professors, and so she was stigmatized for that because people thought that she got ahead in life because she slept with one of her professors.
Yeah, she didn't earn
like her grade or something.
But imagine
her
like
position.
Wouldn't it be easy to be like, came from an abusive household.
No,
She
you're
was
right.
like a serial killer, but she repressed it. You know, she's manic depressive and off her meds. Give her something that like gives her the flair of the chaotic person we know as Harley Quinn. This is like straight down the normal person becoming a therapist. Yeah, she had an affair. That's like the one thing.
But here's the thing, though. That affair was an unhealthy relationship with someone she was a subordinate to,
Right. Correct.
which teases her relationship with the Joker completely.
And I think what the comic book was trying to show was like she lived a kind of mundane, normal, boring life, and the Joker offers some excitement, you know, some thrills, something that's completely different and out of her normal life.
What I don't like about this book is how obsessed it is with what will be their romance. The last line of this whole book, after you read 40 minutes, is the first time she calls him Mr. J.
Right.
But like, I like just knowing about her. Like her Harley Quinn as a really accomplished doctor, therapist who like defects to Harley Quinn. That's interesting to me.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And I guess you only become Harley Quinn through dating the Joker, or is the only way that happens. So okay.
I think we're just gonna get a story of who she was before, who she was during, and who she was after. Because in the little boxes during the comic, it sounds like we're getting the Harley Quinn in the aftermath of what we're about to see through this Harleen book.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because she keeps referring to everything in the past tense,
Yeah.
and she keeps saying things like, you know, had I known what I know now then, I wouldn't have entered that room.
It could, I guess this book could have been used as a chance to like rewrite the entire relationship if they wanted to like undo that and move forward with a new Harley Quinn. But it's going to end up being focused around
This is the best Harley Quinn book I've ever read.
infatuation and the abuse caused by that.
Yeah.
This is the most realistic Harley Quinn book I've ever read.
It like I don't really like. I like fun and zany. I
Yeah.
don't like the way they write fun and zany Harley Quinn. It's not relatable to me. So
It's like a lot of Deadpool comics.
yeah,
Yeah.
Are like
she's
too cartoony and crack-a-jokey.
yeah, she feels
Yeah.
like female Deadpool. And then when she was in
Heroes in Crisis.
Heroes in Crisis, fantastic, amazing.
Yeah.
That's not her book though. Like as a character in that, she's amazing. I think
She was a big role in that book, but yeah, she wasn't her
as a
book, yeah.
straight up Harley Quinn book, like of which I've read a handful, I guess, not that many.
Mm-hmm.
This one's head and shoulders the best.
It takes the most time in fleshing out who she is as a woman and like a character and like all that. I will 100% agree with you. I'm interested to see where they take the abusive
Yeah.
relationship thing.
Well, we've got no concept of what she's going to be like as
Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn. It's hard to imagine with how seriously toned this is, like that they're going to be able to work in a goofball-y version of Harley
There's
Quinn
no
ever.
way. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna go that route.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to redeem. Like, how do you redeem a character who was created in abuse? And frankly, DC didn't they didn't write the abuse correctly.
No, God, no.
Like they wrote it in a way that history has looked back upon being like, what were you doing?
Yeah.
I think you rewrite that by like making her a therapist and like figuring out like the mental, like you might be able to dive back in there and like do something interesting and try. I don't know, redeem it is the right word, but at least address it. That might be what they're going for.
I could see that.
Is that a comic book you really want to like read and sink your teeth into? I don't know. I had fun reading this. This comic book had way more words than any comic book I've read in the last 4 months, and I was not bored. I was not like looking
Yeah.
at the pages being like, how many more do I have? I was just kind of like,
I wasn't
ooh.
bored either. And the fact that he wrote and illustrated this thing is boggling.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a fucking graphic novel. Like
The fight scenes with them in the smoke,
so good.
holy shit.
Yeah.
Like the reflected shadows and the lights and stuff, like this fucking guy is nuts.
The way that he drew the Joker in this,
He's
loved
sexy.
It. Yeah.
He was like a sexy Joker, which I had kind of an issue with because like that goes back to the whole glorifying the person and making them like I hate when the Joker shouldn't be attractive
Why?
because it's just for me it's weird that like for him to be a sexual icon or to have some kind of sex appeal.
I think the Joker should be attractive. I mean,
I think the reason you should be attracted to the Joker is because of his attitude and his like devil may care kind of.
But he's gonna be ugly.
Maybe not ugly, but like
Yeah.
not like this dude looked like a straight up fucking Gap model.
Yeah, I like that.
It was like if they've put like clown makeup on Rob Liefeld, like
Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
him.
There you go.
that's him, baby.
That's a good cut.
It's funny because Rob Liefeld is a clown, but he's not wearing makeup.
No, fuck that dude.
They didn't do the cuts in the mouth in the Joker thing.
No, I think they're gonna do like a new sexy take.
Yeah, this writer actually wrote kind of like a romance sexy webcomic.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that.
Yeah.
It's like a BDSM
Whoa.
Yeah.
What?
webcomic. Yeah, it's
It's called
called
Sunstone.
and he has one called Night Vigil.
That's awesome. That makes me like this so much more. So this is a straight up romance book.
I think it will be, yeah,
And
romance / redemption story.
may even be BDSM.
I think you're gonna see like sly little references to like some of his stuff that he did. Like
That is interesting. That's really interesting.
And I was wondering while I'm reading this book, I'm thinking, when is it going to go there? Because we've said this before about certain Black Label books too, is that some of them don't seem like they commanded this like adult imprint.
yeah,
Reading this book coupled with the other book that we read this week,
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, I like Black Label. I think they're doing good. I actually haven't read a seriously just awful Black Label book yet. They gotta have nudity and like more violence in it.
Yeah.
They and not because I'm a pervert, but just because like to make it feel like this book needs nudity in it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like it has to have
it
that.
needs to have the sexual tension
Yeah.
and
if DC
And feel more real.
can't step up and do that while all the other book that we like batshit fucking crazy nudity that's going on, Fearless is going on, like
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
white
like,
trees.
Yeah, exactly. Like you gotta be able to do that.
Yeah.
And they can't do it on Vertigo because they don't have that anymore.
No,
Like so.
well, that's why they made Black Label to do stuff like this. So
and the fact that that pisses me.
if I don't see a Joker dick or Harley Quinn tits, like, what are we doing here? Why did this even get made?
Well, or like, was there cursing in this?
Okay, yes, and I was confused about that.
Okay.
On multiple occasions, they said the word fuck, unedited, F-U-C-K, fuck,
Yep.
right there in a DC comic book. Fuck, fuck.
Okay.
There is 2 scenes where Harley Quinn is getting yelled at by a coworker, and it's censored.
Yes, I remember that.
They're like squiggly, at symbol, whatever.
Yeah.
What the fuck were they censoring?
Maybe we don't understand the concept of Black Label, or DC didn't do a good job
Editing the book.
of marketing it to us.
If we don't understand the concept of Black Label, who does?
Not DC. I mean, I went to my last comic book shop when I picked up the Frank Miller Superman book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What is that called, by the way? Is it Year One?
Year one.
The guy at the comic shop that I go to was like, I don't know why this was on Black Label. They could have released it as like 2 floppies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know why? It's the creative team. They probably push for we want to be on Black Label. We want that bigger format
because they want the larger format.
Uh-huh.
Which is fine. That for this particular story, it was a better way to read it, getting that whole
Yeah.
big chunk of story or one phase of Harleen's life
Yeah.
through one book. So if that's it, is just to like tell the story better through the medium by just changing size and format, fine. But don't tell me it's like where the adult, mature,
Edgy.
edgy stories are coming to
I mean,
play, because
when-
some of them just aren't.
When I think of like Black Label, I think of like alcohol, and like it's the top shelf, the thing that's been aged longer,
Right.
The like more expensive thing or whatever. So like in that sense, I guess if it's just like the more refined, the better comic, and that's what they're going for, okay.
Yep.
I understood it to be like darker, more twisted and violent, and
That's what I thought,
a little
too.
bit more X-rated.
Yeah.
So
This wasn't even PG-13 rated.
yeah, it's tough.
It's confusing.
They got to rip that Band-Aid off.
I think they got scared with Bat Dick because they tried to dip their toe in it to show a shadow of a penis, and people collectively lost their goddamn minds. It's a dick.
Yeah, I think they lost their minds more because they removed it than like just going with it. If they were just like, yeah, DC showed a Bat Dick, first one ever, and just rolled with it.
Yeah.
I mean, look,
It's not a first appearance, for fuck's sake. Jesus.
kind of is, but
Yeah.
Unclothed.
this is getting into the
Do it, get into
might
it.
as well. So this will get into the other book though, but them pulling Vertigo, Second Coming, and Safe Sex, which is the other book that we're going to be covering.
Mm-hmm.
They pulled off all this stuff that was like basically the complaints of like some of their consumers to be like more safe.
Yeah.
That's stupid. I mean, they gotta. I guess to their credit, does Marvel do nudity in anything? No. Max.
No, but they don't have a Black Label.
Max.
But they had a fuck ton of violence.
But they never had nudity.
You don't know that. I don't know that.
I didn't read every Max book, but
there could have been.
I read almost all the Punisher line of Max, and I don't remember there being nudity.
There wasn't a single scene where there was like
titty.
he went to like a strip club to kill a
I
guy.
hate the word titty.
Sorry, boob,
Booby.
areola.
That'll do.
I don't remember seeing boob in that.
I guess that's fine, but like nudity does not a mature comic make.
Yeah, correct.
100%. Yeah.
But like Harleen, Batman Damned, Superman Year One don't seem like mature comics.
Okay, in that sense, you're right. Max felt mature.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the point I was trying to
I'll
make.
give you that.
So like you're right. DC just ripped the Band-Aid off and like make these like tough, and you're gonna sell a fuck ton of them. Everybody wants to see.
Gross me out. Like, make it so violent I
Yeah.
can't even look at it.
Make it like Faithless and put a butthole on the cover.
Yeah.
I mean, God.
Go fucking crazy.
Do you think they're really like stifling creators?
They sure as fuck are. I mean, if they don't let you draw a penis.
Yeah.
I hope not, because this creator right here that did Harleen, BDSM 100%. So if you're gonna rein this guy in, you're not using him correctly.
No.
Why else would they get this creator specifically?
I guess I just want to know if they were like, sure, this is the story I want to tell and I'm fine with this, or if they're having a constant back and forth with DC saying, no, I want to tell my story this way, and they're saying, well, sorry, get as close to it as you can under these rules.
Take the ball gag out of Batman's mouth. You can't be doing it. Image can get away with a lot more than DC can because DC has a marketing issue. They have to sell bed sheets and toothbrushes and
That's why
coloring
that's
books.
why you do Black Label though. Put it behind.
Yeah, but normal people, I said it, normal people who are in there buying a comic for Jimmy and Sally don't know what the fuck Black Label is.
put it behind with all the porn or something, or polybag it.
That's not a bad idea. Polybag it.
Yeah,
Then none
that's
of us
true.
nerds would read it. We'd leave it in bags.
All
I'd
my
buy a
fa-
digital copy.
Untouched, unsullied. I agree with everyone in here. It needs to go a lot farther with the envelope that they want to push.
Yeah.
I don't want nudity. Like, I'm not just like, I need nudity or else I'm not going to buy it. But I need it to be like, I need to be uncomfortable with this book specifically because it is an uncomfortable subject of Harley Quinn and Joker's relationship.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, the next book's uncomfortable. Let's get to it.
Yeah, SFSX. All All right, so this leads right into a book off of Image called SFSX, which is a clever way to do safe sex, and it is by Tina Horn. And who wants to give it a little intro to that book? Who wants to tell me what safe sex is about?
I can tell you.
What's safe sex?
Safe Sex is about San Francisco in the future, where having sex in a crazy way is the no-no.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do it, you're going to get arrested.
Mm-hmm.
There is a government entity that takes your purity count. And if you do something bad, like not register that you had sex with the person that you're married to within 24 hours, you get dinged.
Yeah. It's like Geico.
Yeah. And the main character would prefer to indulge in sexual behavior that's maybe outside of some people's norms.
She was like a former sex worker?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Of sorts, like of whatever. I guess a sex worker can take a lot of different forms.
Mm-hmm.
And she's had to repress that to keep a normal life.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, in the future, there was a time when sex was just widely accepted. Everyone's is like hedonistic. Christians move in, clean up San Francisco with their Geico sex racket. Underground dirty hand is being formed at the end, but sex worker's husband is arrested for seeing something inside the Pleasure Dome, which is the Christian sex house, or like this Christian sex IRS.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Sex IRS is the perfect way to put it.
Yeah. Basically, this is a critique on repressing sexuality and sexual expression, and I thought it was great.
I think it was really fun. I dove into the author a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They have a podcast where they talk about like a lot of like sex stuff,
Right.
and way into this idea of like sex worker being like a thing that you should be pro, and very sex positive and things like that. So this is a super fun book for just exploring those ideas of like, hey, be a slut and be proud.
The way that they kind of attack the wordage, like slut and whore and all that, and tried to make it undemonized, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of a better word than undemonized, so excuse me.
I don't have many people in my life that are that sexually free, so this is a fun voyeuristic romp for me to be like, oh, cool. Like, there are people that are just that down to have sex and, like, way into sex in a way that I'm not, and it's fun to see their lives. So this book has some rowdy-ass sex pictures.
Hell yeah.
One thing I loved about this was the way they showed who she was on the inside versus how she has to present to the outside world.
Right.
That, she was picking out an outfit for her interview that day. And the person at the retail store says, well, what makes you feel confident? And they flash to her in this like leather bustier and like these like skin tight pants. And then they flash back to her and it's like, you go from these ultraviolet colors back to like browns and grays. And she's just like a blazer. I thought scenes like that were really powerful.
Yeah.
And they do it a few times throughout the book.
It reminded me of like the Handmaid's Tale. How it's kind of just like, it's very regimented and very controlled. And the fact that you have to like check in or say that you've had sex with your partner was just like, I mean, this necessarily isn't a story that we haven't heard before.
But there's a super unique twist on it, which is that the party is a hyper-feminist group, or that's how they try to present themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. It's like, it's almost like when like corporations figure out how to use young people speak, and then they corrupt it.
Yes.
And use it for their own benefit.
That's a great comparison.
So it's like the Christians in this book have just like decided like, oh, we can use under the guise of feminism a way to repress
women
and sexuality.
And sexuality, period.
Yeah.
Right? Not just women, but...
So I think that this book makes some fabulous statements about culture, sex, feminism, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it goes all in on those metaphors and those statements and lacks in a little bit of world building. For me, like I would compare this book to Bitch Planet a little bit.
Okay,
If you read phenomenal book about a lot of like feminist issues, but at the end of the day, it's a sci-fi book about a planet that has a jail on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this book is all in on like sex be bad in this world. And I don't know a lot of like the sci-fi world of like what time period this is, what technology, like even like I would say some of the character development is a little bit like lacking on just going straight in on this metaphor. I'm totally fine reading on this metaphor because it's so foreign to me and it's like really fun. But I think that like the story is second to like all of. And by the way, this author that's their whole life is they are a sex academic. They consider themselves a sex worker, I believe. I think they've made porn and won some awards for some of the movies that they've made. You see a lot of those same characteristics in the character, so they're kind of just writing a character that they are. And I wouldn't say, but by all means, a great comic, but lacks a little bit of things that I would want to see.
I did like the fact that sex turned this woman into a superhero, essentially.
Yeah.
Like you kind of get that surprise scene
That is,
where she's just like kick-ass core strength, incredible flexibility, the ability to slip out of handcuffs easy.
to perform under pressure.
Yeah, that she like kicking up her heels and then stabbing a guy in the eye with them. I was just like, all these kind of sex symbols being thrown together in an action sequence to like explain her agility and empower her. I was like really cool to propel her as like that sort of hero.
Yeah.
Because up until then, she's like a strong-willed person, but we don't get the idea that she's going to be not necessarily a cape wearer, but somebody that's out like busting faces.
So what I think would have been coolest about this book was it originally was going to be put on Vertigo on DC. And the whole conversation we just had is why I think this would have been amazing to be on one of the big two publishers. Makes this they found a niche genre and like really boosted it. The fact that it's on Image makes it less interesting to me.
Why?
Because I think Image takes risks like these all the time. It would have been really interesting for me to be like, whoa, somebody at DC was into this subculture, because this is straight.
Yeah,
this author is straight propagating. This is queer sex worker. That's like what they're into.
Yeah.
And the fact that DC was going to be like all in on that, to me, is I would be like, holy hell, that's cool. That's interesting.
Also, it's crazy that this book, SFSX and Second Coming, probably could have sustained Vertigo for a little bit, because both those books are doing great on other publishers.
I think that it was the triple kill of Border Town having to get pulled.
Yeah.
Because of that guy being a dickhead, like, or whatever. That
No, he was an assaulter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dickhead was light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That dude's back on Twitter, by the way. He's slowly trying to get back
He's trying to be like, I redeem myself.
Yeah, he has 8 followers.
8.
So he's not going anywhere.
Good.
But I follow him to keep an eye on him, just to make sure he doesn't make a
Keep
comeback.
him in, yeah.
Okay, so I have a question about this book. So the main woman who we're following, so her husband works for the sex IRS, and he gets access to like this restricted level and sees something that he's not supposed to see, and he's arrested and like basically kidnapped and taken away, and their apartment gets broken into, and then we get led into the scene that you guys just discussed where she was like a superhero. Let's do a little mind game. What do you think he saw?
It would make sense with the metaphor of this comic book for it to be like, oh, Christians are actually into like dirty sex too.
Yep.
And there's like lots of like moaning and stuff coming back from the doors. So you find out, oh, you know what? The this is a common thing that happened. It happened in like True Blood. It happened in The Boys. It happened in a lot of like the Christians. Like when you peel back the curtain, they're actually just as dirty as the dirty ones.
Yeah. So that's I kind of had the same thought of like he stumbled into a fucking
Fuck pit.
group
Yeah.
orgy
Yeah.
and he had to be silenced.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally like the anti-gay pastor who gets caught with like a bunch of, male porn and child porn and all that stuff.
Yep.
That they're infatuated with the stuff and
Yeah, it's almost like they want to stay close to that
yeah.
and demean it, but they want to just be close to it so they can take it for themselves and
So I
use it.
will tell you this. This book is wild. If you pick it up, and I think it goes there pretty quickly.
First 2 pages.
I like when I think Saga kind of like famously, I think in their second issue have like a giant ass penis in it or whatever, and like that's a good way to do a first issue.
I think we talked about this like a year ago on the podcast. Like we're gonna see sexuality become more mainstream in comic books.
Talk about this, yeah.
We have White Trees. We have SFSX. Saga was doing it.
Fearless.
Unnatural. Like,
Do you think it's further away from being on TV? Not necessarily network television.
So here's what I was thinking about that. Like a premium television channel took a risk on something like this that made a softcore porn with a plot.
Yeah, right.
I think it would go over really well. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people would be into it. Like, I mean, that's what they called Game of Thrones in some ways, and it's like, I don't know. You guys actually need to see a softcore porn.
yeah.
But it's like, I think if they were just like straight up like, this is a softcore porn with a plot, I think like people would be way into it.
People would love it.
Well, yeah, and it's like a story about sex and people's relationships with sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sex isn't just like thrown in to see nudity. It's like about the sex.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
once you change that conversation or that perception, like, then you can tell stories and like change people's minds. Like, sex isn't this thing that has to be done in the dark on Tuesdays only.
I think that this comic book lets it be seen that this story could be told well, to the point that I think the television show would be better.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it exists without people taking the risk on the comic book here.
Yeah.
It works. It totally works. If this was a television show, it'd be awesome.
Yeah. HBO going to be the first network to like really go there.
It's going to have to be one of the pay
Yeah,
ones. It
I
can't be
don't-
on like basic
I
cable.
don't see Netflix doing that.
I see Hulu doing it.
Yeah,
Really?
I do see Hulu doing it.
I could see HBO because they have a little bit of history in like also actually having softcore porn.
Yeah.
Right.
I think Disney Plus isn't going to do it. Someone...
Thanks for that clarification.
Just in case you were wondering.
Okay.
But like, now that the other streaming services have to compete with Disney Plus, because they are, Disney Plus is going to be a fucking
Yeah, sure.
giant. So either Hulu or Netflix is going to have to do
Go into more adult content.
some kind
Showtime?
of...
I could see Showtime doing it.
Totally. Yeah.
yeah.
Hallmark Black Label.
I
I've
would
seen, yeah.
love that, actually. A Christmas Black Label Hallmark movie.
Hallmark Black Label.
Santa stuffs
Holy
his sack.
Fuck, that would be awesome.
Santa's sack.
Dude,
coming
why
to
not?
Hallmark. Well, no. So
You
Hallmark.
know how many women that watch these Hallmark movies, if they
They want to
threw
bust
in
a nut too.
a softcore sex scene, everyone would be like, "Oh,
So
like this is what I've been wanting the entire time."
Time to switch to red wine.
do you remember when the episode of Ali G where his thing is that he made a romance book that hides a dildo inside of it? So it's like drilled in there. So be like that.
Holy shit, Hallmark would be great though.
Yeah.
Like, because it's primarily geared towards
Yeah.
women in their middle ages, and people think they don't want to get freaky, but they want to get freaky the most.
Yeah.
This is a naive question, but like,
It's called a vagina.
okay, yeah, there we go. A lot of like seemingly prudish people read romance books,
Yes. Okay.
and they are reading them to get off, right? I mean, they're not reading them because, I mean, they like the sex in them.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay.
Do they masturbate to them? Like, what is...
You'd have to ask them.
Okay.
I bet some people do, some people don't.
I think it is stimulating because that's why they exist.
Yeah.
Just to be like to get hot and bothered over
But why not
on the
just,
beach.
Why not just watch a porn?
There's something more, and this is going to sound really weird for me. Probably on their end, it seems more dignified to read a kind of a semi-saucy romance novel than to go to Pornhub and scroll through videos to find.
It seems safer.
Probably to them, yeah, safer, and
I imagine the literature is probably good too. The story is good.
probably not.
Well, romance novels are essentially what we're talking about turning into a TV show.
Yes.
They're longer form things where you develop actual relationships with characters, and then those characters are fucking.
Often. And probably
Right.
in a barn.
And you're probably a person who likes the character development and the suspense that's involved, whereas someone searching porn is looking for instant gratification. There's something in prolonging that.
Okay.
I mean, if the episodes were 5 minutes, then I mean we could combine the two, instant gratification with a story.
Just teasing for the first 4 minutes of the porn and then the last minute.
Yeah,
And then just slap and
you
skin for the next
you
minute.
get into the mind of the pizza delivery guy and
yeah.
like his backstory.
Yep.
And why did he shave his head and get
Yeah.
a scorpion tattoo?
A little more setup.
Yeah. And then they open the big sausage pizza and
There's a penis inside.
dive on in.
Is that what romance novels are? Pizza delivery guys? They still have the same oversaturated porn premise.
Zachariah opened the door, and with my heaving breasts, I asked him, "Is that my piping hot cheese pizza in your hand?"
Stepbrother finally gets mother and neighbor.
Oh my God! Can we talk about what is going on with the porn industry and the stepbrother, stepmother,
All the incest fetish.
all the fake incest stuff? What is? Am I supposed to be aroused or offended? What is going on?
Obviously, somebody wants it.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's rampant.
I get that taboos are sexy to people, but unless you can realistically put yourself in that situation, I don't know who else it would be sexy to. And the majority of people don't have step siblings. Am I right?
I think they especially don't have step siblings they want to fuck.
Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, I have a stepbrother. He's cute, but
So, do you think the porn industry is just like, oh, these get a lot of hits and it works?
They have to know
so
something
they're-
we don't.
So but I mean, they could literally be anything else. Maybe people just like a little bit of a story in their porn.
I think
And this role playing is that.
it's stepbrother gets stepsister is the new like nurse or secretary.
yes, like thank you. We were just joking about pizza delivery guy or pool cleaner. Like that was our make 'em up, our porn make 'em up when we were kids. Now it literally is. Well, mom and stepdad are out. Why don't I fuck my sister?
That is honestly, I'm glad. I've never had this conversation before, but that's totally what it has become.
And porn already walks a thin line of just like, okay, is this okay? Is this not okay?
Yeah.
Where's the exploitation of women come into play? Now it's really just like when is it going to be like, I fucked my stepdog?
I think there's probably some of that too.
Wow. I yearn for the days when golden showers were the craziest thing I could maybe come across on a porn website.
Now there's like the I can't say it right. The owaru, the anime face that you make when you're like.
Oh yeah. What is that? I can't pronounce it either. But like their tongues are hanging out, and their eyes
they
are crossed.
go cross-eyed when they orgasm or something like that.
What?
Yeah, it's like a weird cosplay cam
of
girl
this.
thing.
You haven't
Oh
heard
my
of this? So,
God.
but it's like they're all imitating an anime face, like from anime porn, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a pleasure, like
Yeah. I wanted to take more pictures like this. Like,
it's great. Like porn is. I almost feel too old for porn now because I'm just like, this is not for me. Like, where is my Jenna Jameson? Oh.
Don't you worry about kids growing up and like, I'm gonna Google sex, and like what they're gonna see.
Yeah.
it
Dad,
is-
can I get a stepsister? No.
It I feel old in saying it, but it feels like porn has gone to like this new. Maybe this book is getting at the idea that like that's better. the freedom of like the craziness that it's now gone to is.
Yeah, we're
Well, that if more people felt open about having sex, that the porn industry wouldn't be so toxic. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or like just that like this isn't debased or like weird to want to have sex with your brother. Just maybe everybody wants that and that's just normal or something.
Yeah,
I don't
sure.
know.
there's a conversation here. I don't know if we're the ones to have it.
I know. I just shook my shoulders.
Yeah.
I was just like involuntary. My whole body was just like,
You never thought about having sex with your sister?
Yeah, see, this is where we were gonna go. I am all for like breaking down barriers and restrictions on sexual liberation and sexual freedom, but there is that line of just like you can't fuck your brother,
Yeah.
you can't fuck your sister,
Can you have sex in a giant bird costume?
as long as it's consenting to the other person. Sure.
Do you find that weird though?
What I find weird is not an issue. It's whether these two people want it or not.
That is
and if it's legal.
That is the right answer. Yeah. Who cares what you think is weird?
Correct.
As long as you're not hurting anybody.
Correct.
Yeah.
As long as there's consent
That's the point.
involved.
And I think that's the point of this comic book, to be honest.
Absolutely.
It's just
You're
like,
100%
who the
right.
fuck cares what you think is weird?
And guess what? This comic book started this conversation.
So
and
job
that's
well
what
done.
it wanted to do.
Yeah. Also, a good comic book. It's fun to read.
Yeah. I'm excited to see where it goes.
ditto.
I don't know.
So would it potentially surprise you then if the moans from inside the party IRS sex house were like torture sounds actually?
It would surprise me.
Yeah.
Could those like
because-
sounds actually,
Because then that would have been the first
if
thing.
you read them differently, is like oh.
That actually.
I mean, you spell oh the same way as ah.
it's a good point.
That's
yeah.
very true.
Yeah.
It-
or if it was a ghost.
Yeah. They're
It's a
they're
haunted
harboring
room.
ghosts. That's what it is. It's a ghost house.
Yeah.
All those sex ghosts that are flying around, they're catching them and they're keeping them in a room. Ghostgasms.
Yeah.
You guys gonna go home and spill white to this?
Oh, and that's how we end the episode. Goodbye, everybody.
I don't know why I was going to actually answer that.
Spill White. When did you turn 13?
This has been another episode of First Issue Club. We are a proud member of the Fountain City Frequency family of podcasts. Our music is provided by Primary Color Music. We are recorded in KCUR Studios. You can find us, rate us, friend, and follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, email, and your favorite listening platforms at First Issue Club, FIRST.
Alrighty, up now we have Harleen out on the Black Label from DC by Stefan Shergick. Now, did I say that name wrong? You betcha, but it doesn't take away from what this book was.